So in SynthEyes, we will bring the clip. This is going to be a new project, and I'm going to use the EXR. Start here, open, change the frame rate to 23.976, and I don't have the lens and the camera data. Well, actually do, but I'm not going to change it. It's the sensor size is this is micro four thirds, so I can calculate what the aspect ratio and all that. But I'm going to leave it at default. It's not going to make a difference for our project. So here is the clip inside of SynthEyes. Right. So if I play, it will play very fast because the default setting for SynthEyes is not the real time, but as fast as it can play. The first thing I'm going to do is just do an auto track and see how that works out. Yeah, so these leaves here you will see as I play, they are moving around because of the wind, and that would get in the way because when you are tracking the camera, you shouldn't have any moving object that is also getting tracked. You can see here there's quite a bit of motion there, and we want to be mindful of that. But okay, let's start with the auto process, but in there I'm going to break it down. I'm going to fine tune. Let's run the tracker first. Right, so it found the pixels that it would like to track on its own. And you can see that some of the pixels that it has picked up are the moving pixels. So we want to be careful of those. I'm going to remove actually a lot of these pixels that are in the tree. Delete them. I'm going to leave some of them because I don't think they are going to be getting into trouble. Now here, this one is probably not helpful, so I'm going to delete that one. And here also on the tree, see how much motion we have. Maybe okay. Alright, so let's just see how our solve is going to be. So I'm going to hit solve, and it has given us our first solve here, which has 1.0656 errors. It's outside of what I would like to have, so I'm going to correct that. So Shift C would bring up the correction workflow, and high error trackers I'm going to remove by leaving the default setting of 30. And you can see there's some pixels that are selected here, and I'll hit fix, and those pixels are now gone. Let's solve again, and this time our error mark is 90.94 pixels, so that's better. Now I cannot remove any more pixels unless I make it tighter in terms of the errors. So I'm going to go down to, let's say, 15 and fix. Go again. Now we are at 90. Shift C again, and it picked up a couple of pixels again. So fix. Go. This iteration process continues until you are satisfied that all the pixels that you would like to see, or all the track marks that you would like to see gone, they are gone. Alright, so now we should have a decent track. We'll test this with an object, but we need the coordinate system first. So for that, I would like to have some marks on the road, because I would like to have the ground plane right here somewhere on the road. So let's see. Find the empty space that we can use. So after this car, until the truck comes in, which is right here, we can use this space here. So I'm going to start here, go to the trackers, create a new tracker here, and a couple of settings here. I'm going to have a keyframe every 5 frames and key smooth every 5 frames. I'm going to go into track, and let's see, pre-roll at every keyframe and stop on auto key. So first I'm going to track, let's see, a good place to be, and this sounds like a place that I can I can use as a X, Y, and Z plane. Spacebar, and it's tracking. You can just pay attention here and see how good our track is, and it's not letting it go. So we'll just keep going. I'm just hitting spacebar. Alright, so now it moved a little bit, so let's study that frame here. Let's bring it back right here. And let's make sure that it's not moving significantly. Yeah. And here it looks like it's sticking. So I'm going to lock that and do the same process twice. I'll probably pick up this pixel, this mark here, right? And the next one will be probably this mark. So I'm going to pause the video and get those trackers in, and then I'll come back. So here are the 3 tracks that I have decided on, and they seem to be locked on pretty nicely. So I'll use these for my ground plane. So the way you do that is you go into your coordinates and origin. You want the origin first. So here is my origin. Then left right, I would use this as left right and this as front back. And now I have my track, and let's see, our error count is 0.88, which is not bad. Let me change this to quad so I can see all different sides. This is from the top, from one side, and from the other side. This is good, but the problem that I would have is that when I take this camera solve into Maya, I would want to do minimum amount of work in terms of rotating the geometry so that it is aligned properly. So I'd much rather rotate my camera here and the whole scene so that I don't have to do it again in Maya and in Houdini and all those places. So for that, what I will do is, let's go to the 3D tab here, and I'm going to select my camera, click on whole, so I don't only change the camera, I want the whole scene to be shifted, and I'm going to rotate. So going to move like this, and then I will move the camera itself so that my origin, which is this one, goes back to almost 0, or the actual origin. This barrier here you see, that is this straight line here, so you can get the perspective of how the scene is laid out and how my camera is moving. When you play, you can see my camera is going this way, and you can see where the road is and where the trees are, and all the other things. So now if I select this tracker, for example, you can see that's the farthest. This probably is even farther, so it's all the way in the back over there. So you can see that tracker is farther from the camera. You select this one here, which is one of the closer ones, so you can see it right here, the red one. You can select all of these, and you can see my I have selected this barrier. Okay, so that's pretty much all for the tracking in SynthEyes. I'm going to go and well, I don't need this. This is coming from my Wacom tablet. I'll just leave it on the let me just leave it here. So here I'm going to export this into Fusion. Let's go to the appropriate folder, scene, final. Going to call this Fusion, and in there I'll save this DVR road scene comp, and I'll also export one for Maya, and for that I will create another folder called Maya, and in there it will go as .ma file. And I'll save one for Houdini, which is right here, and again I'll create a new folder. Let's call it Houdini, and in there I'll place this CMD file. So what we have achieved now is in all three software we can open respective scenes and recreate the 3D space that existed when I took this video, and start building the dynamics and the geometry. So that will be the next step. So I usually like to check how our track or the solve is inside of SynthEyes before even we go into Maya and other software. So for that, let's go into 3D here. Well, that's where we are, and I'll bring in an earthling, and we'll place this earthling right here at the origin. So click once, and let's see how big this person do we want. Um, let's make that person somewhat of an actual size. So right there. So now we can move around this earthling. Let's just zoom in first and see where that earthling is, and let's let's just keep it somewhere around the origin. So supposedly he is right in the middle of the road, and when we play, he should be very much stationary here. So as you can see, he is fixed to the road, just as if he is actually standing on the road. And we can make him stand anywhere we want, just to check different parts of the solve here. So let's say we have a track here that is on the concrete barrier. So let's look at where that track is first. So that's this one. So we'll bring earthling closer to here and just make sure also from the other scenes that he is actually on that. So right here. So he should be standing right there where the barrier is. So we go back and replay. There he comes, and he's standing on the concrete. So that tells me that the solve is relatively stable, solid, and something that we can use. And we should not have any problem now in other 3D software to build the scene. Now, ideally, I would have probably done this whole thing not using the automatic process here, because a lot of leaves here, and I'm not confident that we would have captured, all the static objects only. I would have done the supervised tracking rather than automated tracking, and in that case I would have picked similar to this track marks that I picked, and I would have probably gone and picked other track marks to complete the whole scene and deleted all these other track marks that we have. Anyway, that's for some other day, but for now I think we can use this track. It seems relatively solid that we can really fix the objects onto the plane. Now, so let's go back to our Photoshop and see what we have done. We imported clip into Resolve. We then exported from Resolve out, and EXR we brought into SynthEyes. And we'll also we have EXR also in Mocha. And now that Mocha is done and SynthEyes workflow is done, we'll focus on Maya, Houdini, and Fusion. And from Mocha we'll go straight into Fusion. But first we'll have to stop at Maya and do some model work. In Houdini we have to do some rigid body dynamics. And in Fusion also we have to do some 3D layout work, and then we'll be ready to comp everything together. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Thanks a lot.